Hey, this video is from section 2.3, and we're going to be solving equations that have variables on both sides of the equal sign. So when you're solving these types of problems, you need to get variables on one side, constants on the other side, and it is usually best if you try to move the variables with a smaller coefficient first. Let's look at an example real quick. 4x minus 3 equals 7 minus 6x. 4 is the coefficient of this 4x term. And over here, we're going to think of this coefficient as negative 6. And since negative 6 is smaller than 4, that is the term that you want to move first. Now, there's really no reason that you have to do that, but in my experience, that is the easiest way to do these problems. Okay, let's look at this first problem here. What I want you to notice, first of all, is that you have variables on both sides of the equation, and you also have constants on both sides of the equation. Right? Variable constant, variable constant. We need to get rid of the smallest variable term first, which is the 6x. And the way that I'm going to do that is to subtract 6x from both sides of the equal sign. Okay, if it helps, you can draw a little dotted line down here to be sure that you're keeping each side separate. On the left-hand side, you end up with 2x plus 9. On the right-hand side, you end up with 19. And now you have a two-step equation like we learned in the last video. Subtract 9 from both sides of the equation. We get 2x equals 10, and then divide both sides by 2, so x equals 5. And if you want to, you can go back and check your problem by putting 5 in place of the x. And over here on the left-hand side, we can see that we'll have 8 times 5 plus 9. And I'm checking to see, is that equal to 6 times 5 plus 19. Well, this is 40 plus 9, which is 49. And over here on the right-hand side, I have 30 plus 19, and that's 49 as well, so that checks out. Okay, problem 2. Again, I have variable constant on the left-hand side, variable constant on the right-hand side. And if you want to keep these two sides separate, if you need to, you can draw a dotted line down your paper to help you do that. And I'm going to subtract the smallest variable term first. So I'm going to subtract that 9x, and I get 3x plus 6 equals negative 15. Be sure that you don't forget this negative sign here. Then we're going to subtract 6 from both sides of the equation, which will leave me with negative 21. On the right-hand side, and then divide both sides of my equation by 3, and I get the answer to be negative 7. Okay, problem 3, I'm going to show you two different ways to do this problem. First of all, I want you to notice that this problem is not like the others. I do not have a variable and a constant on both sides of my equation. So this does not really follow the same rules as the other problems that I've done. If you want to follow the process like we've done the other two by getting rid of the smallest variable term first, we can. And in this case, we're going to be subtracting the 5x from both sides of the equation, which will give me 0 equals 2x plus 6. Then I subtract 6 from both sides, and then divide both sides of my equation by 2. And I get x to be negative 3. Now we can do this problem differently because I've already got a good start of getting constants on the right-hand side. All of my constants are on the right-hand side. So I could just get rid of that 7x by subtracting 7x from both sides of the equation. This will give me negative 2x equals 6, and then divide both sides of my equation by negative 2, so x equals -3. Either way you want to do the problem is fine with me. Okay, problem 4, notice I have variable constant on each side of the equal sign. I'm going to get rid of the smallest variable term first, so I'm going to get rid of that minus 2x. So I'm going to add 2x to both sides of the equation, and I get 8x minus 3 equals 8. Now it's a two-step equation. Add 3 to both sides, then divide both sides of my equation by 8. My answer is 11/8. Okay, problem 5. Notice that I have variable constant on each side of the equal sign. On the left-hand side, my coefficient is 2. On the right-hand side, the coefficient is -4. -4 is smaller than +2, so that's the one that I want to get rid of first. I'm going to put a dotted line down here so I can keep the two sides separate. Then I'm going to add 4x to both sides of the equation. So 6x plus 5 equals 6. Then subtract 5 from both sides of the equation. 6x equals 1. Then divide both sides of the equation by 6. So x equals 1/6. Okay, problem 6. I got variable constant on the left-hand side and a variable and a constant on the right-hand side. So I'm going to get rid of my smallest variable term first, and the -3 is smaller than -2, so that's what I'm going to get rid of first. And I'm going to add 3x to both sides of my equation. Notice I have 3x on both sides of that little dotted line, and this was going to give me -2 equals x plus 1. Then I can subtract 1 from both sides of the equation, so x equals -3. Problem 7, again, I've got variable constant on each side of the equal sign. Getting rid of the smallest variable term first, I'm going to subtract 2a. This gives me 5a minus 5 equals -20. Then I'm going to add 5 to both sides of my equation. So I have 5a equals -15. Then divide both sides of my equation by 5. So a equals -3. Okay, with problem 8, notice I have variable constant on the left-hand side, variable constant on the right-hand side. I'm going to draw my little dotted line down here to be sure I keep each side of the equal sign separate. And I'm going to go ahead and write this as -1x. Now you don't have to do that if you don't want to, but I find that sometimes it helps. The smallest variable term I have is -10x, so I'm going to add 10x to both sides of my equation. And that will leave me with 4 on the left-hand side, and on the right-hand side, I have 9x minus 14. Now I can add 14 to both sides of the equation. So 18 equals 9x, then divide both sides by 9. So x is going to equal 2. Okay, problem 9. Notice that I do not have variable and constant on both sides of the equal sign. Right? On the right-hand side, I just have the variable. So what I want you to do is to pause the video and try to do this one on your own. And you can do it either method that I've done the previous example that's of this form. And then once you do the problem, then come back and check your answers. Right, and your answer there is -4/3. What I want you to do is to be sure that you have the process right. Your problem should look like mine. If it doesn't, but you still end up with the right answer, you may be making a mistake somewhere along the way, even though you do end up with the right answer. So if you have any questions about whether your process is right or not, please send me an email and I will check out your work. For these next two problems, I would like for you to try to do these on your own. Pause the video, do these, and come back and check your answers. And there are your answers for problems 10 and 11. And again, if you have any questions, please email me and I will help you with those. And here's the last problem that I would like for you to try to do on your own. And there's your answer for problem 12.